Hello children, this is Ma'am Abigail and today we'll be learning Unit 5 Poles Apart. In this unit, you'll be learning and analyzing various types of text, understand the features and language techniques used in report. You'll also be able to differentiate between a non-chronological report and news report, balanced view and biased view, and express a point of view verbally and in writing, seeing things from different perspectives. Visual literacy is an important skill. I want you to look for clues in the pictures and identify the similarities and differences. What does the expression poles apart means? Poles apart means completely different or completely opposite. Polar regions have extremely cold temperatures. They are also called the frigid zones of Earth. The polar region are regions that surround its geographical poles, the north and the south. These high altitudes are dominated by floating sea ice covering much of the Arctic Ocean in the north and by the Antarctic ice sheet on the continent of Antarctica in the south. Here are some facts that describe the Arctic and Antarctic. Antarctic is an ocean, Antarctic is a continent. They are both desert regions, but Antarctic is considered the largest desert. The Arctic has a permanent population as some parts are warm and humans can survive, but in Antarctic there are no population as it's extremely cold. Very few animals like penguins and seals live in Antarctic, whereas animals of the Arctic includes polar bear, wolverine, squirrels, birds, walrus, and seals. Adjectives of comparison are used to compare two or more things. We use the suffix er for comparative adjective and suffix est for superlative adjective. There are certain things that you should keep in mind. That is, when you add er or est to the root word, sometimes it changes the spelling. For instance, if the root word ends in a y, change it into I. The second point is double the consonant if it has a short vowel. And lastly, if the root word has more than 2 or 3 syllables or ends with the word full, use more or most. Look at the following examples. There are more adjectives on root words and suffixes in the spelling section on page 157. As you know, some connectives link sentences and paragraphs. They are useful in a sentence because they are used to compare things. Look at page 78, question number 4a, where a connective is used. For example, one is a continent while the other is an ocean. Here the connective while has been used comparing a continent and an ocean. Some connectives work in pairs too. Example on page 79, question number 2a. They can't decide whether to travel north or south. Remember, we use connectives for many other reasons. For instance, to add information, mark a contrast, show cause and effect, to provide an example, etc. Some of the connectives are given below. What are facts and opinions? A fact can usually be proved, whereas an opinion, although it sounds real and convincing, is what someone feels or believes. Read the factual information on polar region about the Arctic and Antarctic on page 79 and 80 and try to list out the keywords only. The keywords could be a noun, a verb, an adjective, or a preposition. Try to work out word meanings from the context and by breaking up words to find a familiar root, prefix, and suffix. The words Arctic and Antarctic provide an opportunity to explore prefixes that create opposite meaning. Example: equal, unequal, increase, decrease. The name Antarctic means opposite position to the Arctic, that is one north, one south. Avoid confusion between ante, anti, and anti, anti. Prefix anti, anti means opposite or against. Example: clockwise, anticlockwise. But the prefix ante, anti means before. Example: chamber, antechamber. Non-chronological report provide information about a topic in a paragraph. Apart from an introduction and a conclusion, the information requires no particular order, unlike a news report or a set of instructions. The paragraph in non-chronological report should provide information that will help the reader decide which he or she would prefer to visit. Recap the paragraph to separate text into manageable sections and deal with one main idea. Have a topic sentence that sums the paragraph up. Use your own words and know that paragraphs are linked to the main topic and to each other. Let's analyze a news report that has just been issued on climate change on page 82. Any text can be analyzed according to its purpose, language, style, audience, and its format. By now, I'm sure you have cultivated or should be in the habit of skimming over any text before reading it in detail. Always look out for pictures or headings, general text features, and lead sentences to establish if the text is serious or light-hearted, fiction or non-fiction, and its purpose. I hope you still remember what a lead is. As discussed in Unit 2, lead is the first sentence or paragraph of a news report that provides the reader with the most important information first and answers the question who, what, where, when, how, and why. The key characteristics of a report are headlines, pictures, paragraph, lead sentences, and factual information. This particular report is written about another report which is still in a draft form, means the report about climate change that has not been finalized. Why draft? Because the report is not in its final form, it must still be checked and proofread and is still open for comments. The UN report is for the UN or the government, and the news report is for public. The purpose is to inform on climate change. It uses mostly standard English as it is formal, correct, and no colloquial terms are used. Let's have a look at the punctuation used in the report, particularly the colon, speech mark, and commas. The colon in the headings indicate or introduce an explanation to explain to the reader where the statement is from. The speech mark or quotation mark in the first sentence is used for quoting the terminology from the report. The commas in long sentences in the second paragraph helps to mark out the meaning and create a pause. Look at the pictures of the effect of global warming. Hotter temperatures, rising seas, extreme weather, water dilemma, humanitarian crisis, etc. Read question number 4a on page 84, an explanation about climate change, and decide whether you agree or disagree with the statement at the top of page 85. A sentence is made up of phrase and clause. A phrase is a group of words without a verb. Clause is a group of words with a verb. Remember that a sentence can consist of a clause only or a conditional clause and a subordinate clause. Look at some information in language focus box on page 85. Conditional clause, that is main clause, express the possibility of something that may happen in the future. If the subordinate clause, that is if clause, goes before the main clause, you can add a comma to create a pause. Notice that the subordinate clause can go before or after the main clause. Subordinate clause usually depend on conditional clause. Pronouns are useful when we write because it replaces a noun or proper noun, avoiding repetition. You must be able to identify what formality is required for text with different purposes. First person pronoun indicates a personal style which is usually informal. Second person may be both formal and informal. It is often used in magazine articles and instruction. Lastly, third person generally indicate a more formal text. Contraction combine two words into a new word, but unlike compound word, the spelling changes and an apostrophe replaces omitted letters. Active voice and passive voice. In the active voice, the subject does the action, whereas in passive voice, the person or thing doing the action, that is the agent, is no longer the subject. Sometimes the agent is hidden. You should know how to identify the verb or action in a sentence and should be able to find the agent, the doer of the action, even when it is hidden. For example, the problem will be solved. Ask this question to yourself. But by whom? The passive voice is not always to be encouraged as it is indirect and can be long-winded. However, it can be useful in reports for making general statements and avoid being personal. Who is the agent? Now, often the idea behind a hidden agent in a sentence is to keep one's option open and to avoid being personal. For example, the problem of litter has been identified in certain areas of the school. A general cleanup will be conducted. Read a balance report on page 88 about traffic in cities. A balance report gives equal weight to both sides of an issue and is usually made up of facts and a mix of facts and opinion. The purpose is to present arguments and information from differing viewpoints and give the readers all the information to make up their own decision. The structure of a balance report has a heading, an introduction, what the report is going to be about, points for the issue, points against the issue, along with supporting evidence, and lastly, conclusion and summary. The language features are impersonal style, keeping one's opinion out of an argument, usually written in present tense, written in first person narrative as to what people might think, and finally, it includes logical connectives to link sites. Now, the examples here are therefore, however, on the other hand. Kindly refer to the features of a balance report given in page 89. Look at page 167 and learn how connectives are used to highlight a point or purpose. These are useful while presenting an argument for greater effect or clarity. For example, connectives used to link two opposing views. On the other hand, connectives that link two similar views. In addition, connectives that support a view by giving an example, for example, and connectives that add weight to the point being made, therefore. By now, you should understand that particular tenses are used according to the text purpose. News report or event is written in past tense. A story can be written in past tense or present tense. A weather forecast can be in present or future tense. A balance report or non-chronological report is generally written in present tense but may include some past or future tense as well. If you look at the opening statement of the report about traffic in cities on page 88, it is written in present tense. There are no sentences used in past tense because it talks about the present situation and possible solution in the future. The conditional verb, also known as modal auxiliary verb, imply or express the possibility of something happening in the future. They have no infinitive form and no tense of their own and always accompany another verb. For example, a ban on cars in city center would therefore reduce air pollution and also improve traffic jam and health issue. What does bias means? Bias refers to favoritism or unfairness. The opposite of a balanced view is a biased view, giving only one side of an issue according to the writer's personal opinion. The biased language can be emotive, that is, full of emotion, as the writer changes the tone of a text to sound more persuasive. However, facts may be used but not presented objectively, and opinions can sound like fact. Read the text The Shrinking World of Penguins on page 92. A picture can also give a biased view as shown there in the text, suggesting that those particular penguins are in great danger. Seeing is believing is not always true, as photograph can easily be manipulated. The figurative image of what is happening to the penguin is a symbolic of the situation, making the reader feel shocked or sympathetic. Another figurative language used is global warming strikes hard, suggesting that the situation is serious. Let's look at some of the emotive words used in the text, which changes the tone and effect of a sentence. Elegant creature, global sentinels, a dying breed, cop, a host of problem, must, crisis, never, and love. A debate is a formal discussion on a particular matter where each person gets to present their side of an argument, either individually or as a team. Look at the headlines given on page 94. Each headline has two sides of an issue. A colon is used between two independent clauses when the second clause explains or restates the first clause. It also saves space, whereas the hyphen is used whenever an adjectival phrase is used. For those who lack confidence, planning and preparation are the key to public speaking. You may prefer to rewrite the speech in full or use speech card and keywords only. Use the guidelines provided in Unit 2, where your speech should consist of a proper title, introduction, two or three convincing arguments, and a conclusion. The fixed rules for debating can be adapted according to your context. Here are some classroom debate rules where you can follow while having a debate. Firstly, state the facts, not just your personal opinion. Facts in any activity are anything you learn from an article. Respect your opponents. Healthy debates leave space for both sides to be heard. Speak, don't shout. Turning up the volumes won't make your arguments more convincing. Don't interrupt. Only three persons per side are allowed to speak at a time. Tap. If you like to step forward with an idea, gently tap someone who is sitting on the bench. This signals that you are ready to take a turn without disturbing the debate. Well, that's all I have for you. Till then, stay home and stay safe.